The giant spaceship hung in the darkness above New Terra like a predator watching its prey. Inside the bridge, Commander Veltha stood with his arms crossed, watching the planet below. His reptilian skin glowed under the cold lights of the command center. 10 billion humans lived on that world. 10 billion people who had refused to obey the Galactic Council's new law. "Start the broadcast," Veltha said to his crew. His voice was cold and pleased. Across the entire galaxy, screens turned on. Billions of alien beings stopped what they were doing and watched. They saw the Jarthic warships positioned around New Terra. They saw the weapons charging, glowing with deadly energy. On New Terra, it was morning. In the city of New London, a man named David Richards walked his daughter to school. She was 7 years old, carrying a bright pink backpack. "Daddy, can we get ice cream after school?" she asked. David smiled. "Of course, sweetheart." He never got to keep that promise. Far below the Rocky Mountains on Earth, President Elizabeth Morgan stood in a massive underground room filled with screens and computers. Military officers rushed around her, but she stood perfectly still. Her eyes were locked on the main display showing New Terra. "Madam President," General Robert Hayes said beside her. "The Jarthic are broadcasting this across every channel. They want everyone to see this." Elizabeth said nothing. She just watched. Veltha's voice echoed through space, transmitted to every corner of the galaxy. "People of the galaxy, watch what happens to those who refuse to obey the Jarthic Empire." The first beam of energy hit New London. The entire city vanished in a flash of white light. One moment it existed. The next moment, there was only a burning crater. David Richards and his daughter turned to ash in less than a second. They felt nothing. But the cameras captured everything. Another beam struck New Shanghai on the other side of the planet. Then New Cairo. Then New Mumbai. The Jarthic warships fired methodically, destroying one city after another. In the command center on Earth, people started crying. Tough military officers who had seen combat broke down. General Hayes gripped the edge of a table so hard his hands shook. Admiral Thomas Wright stood like a statue, tears running down his face. His sister lived on New Terra with her family. Not anymore. The broadcast went on for 6 hours. The Jarthic made sure their cameras showed everything. People running and screaming. Buildings collapsing. Fire consuming entire continents. The counter on Earth's military screens counted the dead. 1 billion. 3 billion. 5 billion. 8 billion. 10 billion. When it finally ended, New Terra was a dead world. Nothing moved on its surface. The oceans boiled. The atmosphere was poison. 10 billion people had been alive that morning. Now they were all gone. Veltha appeared on screen again. He looked proud of himself. "Let this be a lesson," he said. "Humanity must obey. You have 48 hours to surrender your independence to the Galactic Council. If you refuse, more worlds will burn." The screen went black. Across the galaxy, different species reacted in different ways. Some sent messages saying they were sorry about what happened. Others said nothing at all. A few actually celebrated. Humanity had always been too proud, too independent. Maybe now they would learn their place. In the command center on Earth, nobody spoke. Elizabeth Morgan stared at the empty screen. Around her, strong men and women wept. Some fell to their knees. Others just stood there, unable to process what they had witnessed. "Madam President," General Hayes finally said. His voice cracked. "The Joint Chiefs need to know what you want to do." "How many humans are left?" Elizabeth asked quietly. 18 billion on Earth. 12 billion on our other colonies. 30 billion total. Elizabeth turned to face her officers. They stepped back when they saw her eyes. There was something terrifying in her expression. Something cold and final. "They killed a third of our species," she said softly. "They broadcast it like entertainment. They gave us 48 hours to become their slaves." "The Jarthic military is 3 times larger than ours," Admiral Wright said. His voice was flat and emotionless. "Their technology is better. The Galactic Council approved what they did. They won't help us. If we fight back, they might exterminate all of us." Elizabeth looked at him. "Thomas, they already tried to exterminate us. They just didn't finish." She walked to the communication station. "Get me Director James Patterson. Activate Prometheus. Recall every agent from every secret program. We're done hiding." Prometheus. General Hayes looked confused. "That's just a research project." "No," Elizabeth said. "Prometheus is a weapons program. We've been building it for 50 years, ever since we realized the galaxy wasn't civilized at all. It's full of predators who smile and pretend to be friends. We built weapons for this exact moment. Weapons we hoped we would never use. She activated the emergency broadcast. Every human device in the galaxy would receive her message. Every human would hear what she said next. My fellow humans, Elizabeth began. Her voice was steady and ice-cold. You saw what happened to New Terra. 10 billion people murdered because they wanted to remain free. 10 billion of our brothers and sisters killed as a warning to the rest of us. She paused for a moment. The Jarthik gave us 48 hours to surrender. To give up our freedom. To become slaves. They think we will beg for mercy. Her expression hardened. They're wrong. As of right now, we are at war. But this is not a normal war. This is a war of extinction. The Jarthik wanted to make humanity extinct. Instead, we will show them what extinction really means. People across the galaxy listening to her broadcast felt chills run down their spines. Operation Alien Extinct is active. We will not stop until every Jarthik world is destroyed. We will not negotiate until their empire is dust. We will not rest until their species is just a story that parents tell their children as a warning. Elizabeth leaned closer to the camera. To the Jarthik Empire, you made one mistake. You thought kindness meant weakness. You thought because we value life, we cannot take it. You're about to learn that our love for our people is matched by our hatred for our enemies. And right now, 30 billion humans hate you. She ended the broadcast and turned to her officers. Get Prometheus online. Prepare the fleet. Ready every weapon we have. In 48 hours, we're going to give the Jarthik an answer they will never forget. Deep inside a mountain on Mars, director James Patterson walked through corridors that did not exist on any official map. The Prometheus facility had been built in secret over 5 decades. Now, after 50 years of hiding, it was time to wake up. James entered the main operations room where hundreds of scientists and engineers worked frantically at their stations. Massive screens showed weapon systems, fleet positions, and target data. Everything was coming online after years of dormant silence. Status report, James called out as he reached the center platform. Dr. Rebecca Foster looked up from her console. She was a small woman with tired eyes, but her hands moved quickly across the controls. Nanoweapon systems are charging. We'll be ready in 32 hours. The swarms are responding perfectly to commands. Good, James said. He turned to another station. What about the kinetic weapons? A young engineer named Peter Graham answered. All relativistic railguns are operational, sir. We have 47 asteroids positioned in deep space, each one accelerated to 0.9 light speed. When they hit, entire continents will crack open. James nodded and moved to the biological weapons section. Dr. William Carter, a geneticist who had spent 20 years studying alien DNA samples, stood before a holographic display of the Jarthik genetic structure. William, tell me about the plague, James said quietly. William's face was grim. It's ready. The nanoplague is specifically designed for Jarthik biology. It won't kill them quickly. Instead, it will make them sterile. 1 generation, and their species ends. They'll watch their children grow old with no grandchildren to follow. Their entire civilization will die slowly. That's cruel, Rebecca said from her station. They burned 10 billion humans alive and broadcast it for entertainment, James replied coldly. Cruelty is what they understand. Besides, this gives them time to surrender if they choose. A quick death would be more merciful than they deserve. Rebecca said nothing. She knew he was right, even if it made her stomach turn. On Earth, Admiral Thomas Wright stood on the bridge of the battleship Retribution. Around him in deep space floated 26 more warships, each one equipped with technology the Jarthik did not know humans possessed. These ships had been built in secret facilities scattered across the asteroid belt. Admiral, Commander Lisa Bennett approached him. All ships report ready. Ghost Company has reached their staging points. Thomas looked at the tactical display. It showed the Jarthik Empire's territory, dozens of worlds spread across multiple star systems. Red markers indicated military installations. Yellow markers showed civilian population centers. By the end of this war, they would all be gone. What about the FTL drives? Thomas asked. Working better than expected, sir. We stole the Jarthik design 30 years ago and improved it. Our ships are actually faster than theirs now. They won't know what hit them. Thomas allowed himself a small, cold smile. Good. When we strike everywhere at once. I want 20 Jathic worlds hit in the first wave. No warnings. No mercy. Just like New Terra. Across the solar system, Special Forces teams prepared for deployment. Ghost Company was humanity's most elite unit, soldiers trained for the impossible. Captain Richard Stone led one such team aboard a stealth transport heading toward the Jathic home system. His team consisted of 12 operators, each one a specialist. Lieutenant Helen Price handled explosives. Sergeant Mark Wilson was their sniper. Corporal Andrew Foster specialized in alien technology hacking. They had trained together for 8 years, preparing for a war that everyone hoped would never come. Listen up, Richard addressed his team as they checked their equipment. Our mission is to infiltrate the Jathic homeworld and gather intelligence on their palace defenses. Secondary objective is to assassinate high-ranking officials if opportunities present themselves. Rules of engagement, sir? Helen asked as she assembled the plasma charge. There are no rules anymore, Richard said flatly. Every Jathic is a target. Military, civilian, young, old. They're all guilty of what happened to New Terra. Show them the same mercy they showed us. None. His team nodded. Nobody objected. They had all lost someone on New Terra. Back in the Prometheus facility, James Patterson received a secure transmission from President Elizabeth Morgan. Director Patterson, Elizabeth's face appeared on his screen. How long until we can launch the first strike? 28 hours, Madam President. All systems will be fully operational. The Jathic gave us 48 hours to surrender. We're going to respond after 36. I want them to think we might actually give in, right up until the moment we destroy half their empire. James understood the psychology. Let them feel safe. Let them celebrate their victory. Then show them what real power looked like. We'll be ready, James promised. Elizabeth nodded. One more thing. The Galactic Council is demanding I accept a diplomatic meeting. They want to mediate the situation. What did you tell them? I told them to watch what happens next and then decide if they still want to mediate. Elizabeth's expression was ice. The galaxy stood by and watched genocide. Now they'll watch revenge. Far across space, aboard the Eternal Dominion, Commander Veltha reviewed reports from his intelligence officers. They showed no unusual activity from Earth. No fleet movements. No military mobilization. The humans appeared to be doing nothing. They are paralyzed with fear, Veltha told his second-in-command. The demonstration worked perfectly. By tomorrow, they'll surrender, and the Empire will have complete control over human territory. His second-in-command, a younger officer named Corthan, was not so certain. Commander, our long-range sensors detected some strange readings near Mars. It could be. It's nothing, Veltha waved dismissively. Humans are primitive. They have no secret weapons. They have no hidden fleets. We've seen their full military capability, and it's pathetic compared to ours. Corthan wanted to press the issue but knew better than to question Veltha when he was in this mood. Instead, he simply said, "Yes, Commander." Veltha smiled, showing his sharp teeth. In 36 hours, humanity will kneel. The Empire will expand. And I will be celebrated as the commander who broke the human spirit. He had no idea that in 36 hours, 20 Jathic worlds would be burning. On Mars, Dr. Rebecca Foster made final adjustments to the nanoweapon control systems. Each swarm contained trillions of microscopic machines, each one capable of dismantling matter at the atomic level. Once deployed on a planet, they would consume everything technological, turning advanced civilizations into pre-industrial wastelands within days. Rebecca, her assistant, called out. The swarms are asking for target confirmation. Rebecca pulled up the list. 20 Jathic colony worlds. Billions of lives. She hesitated for just a moment, her finger hovering over the confirmation button. Then she remembered the broadcast. The children crying. The cities burning. 10 billion voices silenced forever. She pressed the button. Targets confirmed, she said quietly. May God forgive us for what we're about to do. Admiral Thomas Wright stood on his bridge and looked at the countdown timer. 36 hours until Operation Alien Extinct began. 36 hours until humanity showed the galaxy what happens when you push peaceful people too far. All ships, he transmitted to his fleet. Prepare for jump. Target, Jathic space. Mission, extermination. Show no mercy. Leave no survivors. 27 warships powered up their new FTL drives. The countdown continued. The Jathic Empire had no idea that their extinction had already begun. The Galactic Council chamber was a massive circular room floating in orbit around a neutral star. Representatives from 43 different species sat in their designated sections, each one adapted to their specific environmental needs. The insectoid Krelix sat in high-humidity chambers. The crystalline Lithans rested on heated platforms. The aquatic Delphini floated in transparent water tanks. Today, the chamber was filled with panic. Council Chairman Theron, a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms, called the emergency session to order. His voice carried through the translation systems to every representative present. The Council recognizes the current crisis. Humanity has launched military operations against the Jathic Empire. We must decide how to respond. Ambassador Vex of the Jathic Empire slammed his clawed hand on his podium. Respond? The humans are committing genocide. They have attacked 20 of our worlds simultaneously. They deployed weapons we have never seen before. Weapons that are dismantling our colonies piece by piece. The Council must authorize a combined military response immediately. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some representatives nodded in agreement. Others looked uncertain. Queen Shira of the Krelix hive raised one of her 4 arms. Her insectoid face was difficult for most species to read, but her voice carried clear concern. Ambassador Vex, before we discuss military intervention, perhaps we should discuss what provoked this response. Your empire broadcast the extermination of 10 billion humans. The entire galaxy watched. Some of us tried to raise objections, but the majority of this council remained silent. They refused to obey council law. Vex shouted. They were given a lawful order and rejected it. We had every right to. You had the right to destroy an entire world. Queen Shira interrupted. Her voice grew sharper. You had the right to murder 10 billion sentient beings? And broadcast it as entertainment. Other representatives began speaking at once. The chamber descended into chaos. Chairman Theron activated the sound dampeners to restore order. Silence, he commanded. We will address each concern properly. Delegate Orax, one of the silicon-based Lithans, spoke next. His voice sounded like grinding stones. I have reviewed the human attacks. Their nanoweapons are specifically designed to target technology and infrastructure. Our scientists analyzed the attack patterns. Chairman, the humans have weapons tailored to each species in this chamber. That statement created a wave of fear through the council. Representatives looked at each other nervously. What do you mean, tailored? Asked Ambassador Lin of the Delphini, her aquatic form rippling with concern. I mean, Orax said slowly, that the humans have studied every species in the galaxy. They have created weapons designed to exploit our specific biological and technological weaknesses. The nanoswarms attacking Jathic worlds are calibrated for reptilian biology and their specific technology. But our intelligence indicates they have different weapons for insectoid species, different weapons for aquatic species, and different weapons for silicon-based life forms like my own people. The chamber went completely silent. Queen Shira spoke quietly. Are you saying the humans prepared for war against all of us? I am saying they prepared to defend themselves against all of us, Orax corrected. There is a difference. They built these weapons over 50 years ago, when they first joined galactic society. They looked at us, saw predators disguised as civilized beings, and prepared accordingly. Ambassador Vex laughed bitterly. Ridiculous. The humans are weak. They have no. His words were cut off as a new transmission arrived. A junior Jathic officer appeared on the main display, his scales pale with fear. Council members, the officer said, his voice shaking. I am transmitting from the colony world of Draktha Prime. The human attack has stopped. But they left something behind. The screen changed to show a massive monument constructed in the center of the colony's capital city. It was made of black metal and stood 50 meters tall. Carved into it were words in both human and Jathic languages, and playing on an endless loop was footage from the New Terra broadcast. The inscription read, "Remember what you cheered for." Then the transmission cut to another Jathic world. Another monument. The same message. 20 different worlds, 20 identical monuments, all broadcasting the genocide of New Terra on repeat. Ambassador Vex stared at the screen, his confidence shattered. Chairman Theron spoke carefully. Ambassador Vex, you requested military support from the Council. Before we vote, I must inform you of recent developments. In the past 6 hours, I have received 14 private communications from Council members. They were requests for diplomatic channels to Earth. They want to negotiate non-aggression pacts with humanity. Cowards. Vex spat. They are afraid. Yes, Theron said simply. They are. And perhaps they should be. He activated another transmission. This one showed President Elizabeth Morgan standing in the White House. Her message was being broadcast across all council frequencies. Members of the Galactic Council, Elizabeth began, her voice calm and measured. For 50 years, humanity tried to be good neighbors. We followed your laws. We participated in your trade agreements. We sought peaceful cooperation. And when the Jathic Empire murdered 10 billion of our people, you did nothing. Some of you even celebrated. She paused, letting her words sink in. The Jathic Empire will be extinct within 6 months. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact. However, I want to make our position clear to every other species listening. Humanity seeks no quarrel with you. We will not attack you. We will not invade your territory. We will leave you in peace. Her expression hardened. But if any species provides military support to the Jathic, you will share their fate. If any species gives them sanctuary, you will share their fate. If any species interferes with Operation Alien Extinct in any way, you will share their fate. Elizabeth stepped closer to the camera. Some of you are already reaching out to us for treaties and agreements. We will accept these offers. Any species that remains neutral will be left alone. Any species that provides intelligence on Jathic positions will be rewarded with favorable trade agreements when this is over. Choose wisely. Choose quickly. The transmission ended. Ambassador Vex looked around the chamber desperately. You cannot seriously be considering abandoning us. The Jathic Empire is one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. We have been council members for 3,000 years. Queen Shira spoke softly. And in 3,000 years, how many younger species have you subjugated? How many worlds have you conquered? How many genocides have you committed that we ignored because you were strong? That's different. Vex protested. No, Queen Shira said. It is not. The difference is that this time, you attacked someone who could fight back. You mistook patience for weakness. You mistook mercy for cowardice. And now you are learning the cost of that mistake. Chairman Theron called for a vote. All those in favor of providing military support to the Jathic Empire, indicate now. 3 representatives voted yes. 40 voted no. The motion fails, Theron announced. The council will not intervene. This matter is between humanity and the Jathic Empire. Ambassador Vex stood frozen, unable to believe what had just happened. His empire, one of the galaxy's great powers, had just been abandoned. As the council session ended and representatives filed out, quiet conversations began. Delegates who had voted against intervention immediately sent messages to Earth requesting diplomatic meetings. Species that had territories near Jathic space began evacuating border colonies, terrified of being caught in the crossfire. In a private chamber, Queen Shira met with Delegate Orax and 3 other influential council members. The humans are going to win, Orax stated flatly. Our projections give the Jathic 6 months at most. Then what? Asked one of the others. What happens when humanity has proven they can exterminate a galactic power? What kind of galaxy will we live in? Queen Shira considered this carefully. Perhaps a more honest one. For centuries, we have pretended to be civilized while allowing the strong to prey on the weak. The humans are not pretending. They are showing us exactly what they are capable of when pushed too far. I would rather have that honesty than the lies we have been living. You're saying we should accept them as the new dominant power? Orax asked. I am saying, Queen Shira replied, that we should remember this lesson. Mercy is not weakness. Kindness is not cowardice. And species that value individual life are not soft, they are dangerous when their loved ones are threatened. The Jathic forgot this. Let us make sure we do not. The galaxy was changing, and everyone could feel it. 3 months into Operation Alien Extinct, the Jathic Empire was collapsing. Admiral Thomas Wright stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching another colony world burn below. This was the 47th Jathic world his fleet had sterilized. There were still 32 more to go. Admiral, Commander Lisa Bennett reported, the nanoswarms have completed their work. All technology on the surface has been dismantled. Power grids are down. Communications are offline. They're back to the Stone Age. Thomas nodded. Leave the monument and move to the next target. The monument was always the same. A black pillar 50 meters tall with the footage from New Terra playing on endless repeat. Every Jathic world that humanity touched received one. A reminder. A warning. A promise kept. On the surface of the conquered world below, Jathic citizens stumbled through the ruins of their cities. Their advanced technology was gone, reduced to dust by weapons they could not see or fight. Their spacecraft were grounded. Their weapons were useless. They were stranded on their own planet with no way to call for help. But they were alive. That was the cruelty of it. Humanity could have killed them all instantly, but instead chose to leave them alive to witness their civilization's destruction. Far across the galaxy, Captain Richard Stone and his Ghost Company team moved through the shadows of the Jathic homeworld capital. They had been operating behind enemy lines for 2 months, gathering intelligence and eliminating high-value targets. "Target is on the move," Lieutenant Helen Price whispered through the comm system. She watched from a rooftop as a Jathic general's transport vehicle moved through the streets below. "I have the shot," Sergeant Mark Wilson confirmed. He lay on another rooftop 400 meters away, his rifle aimed at the transport. "Take it," Richard ordered. The rifle made almost no sound. The general's transport exploded 3 seconds later. Another Jathic military leader dead. That made 17 in the past month. "Exfil in 30 seconds, Richard said. His team moved like ghosts, disappearing into the city before Jathic security forces even arrived at the scene. They regrouped in a safe house hidden beneath an abandoned building. Corporal Andrew Foster was already inside, working on hacking into the Jathic military network. "Got something interesting," Andrew said, pulling up data on his portable screen. "The Emperor is planning to address the Empire tomorrow. Public broadcast from the palace." Richard smiled coldly. "Then I think it's time we paid him a visit." At the Prometheus facility on Mars, Dr. Rebecca Foster monitored the final deployment of the nanoplague. The microscopic weapons had been released into the Jathic homeworld's atmosphere 2 weeks ago. Now they were spreading through the population, invisible and unstoppable. "How long until it takes full effect?" Director James Patterson asked. "The plague is already active," Rebecca said quietly. "Every Jathic who breathes the air is infected. They won't die. They won't even feel sick. But none of them will be able to have children anymore. In 70 years, when the last Jathic dies of old age, their species will be extinct." James looked at her. "You sound troubled." "I am troubled," Rebecca admitted. "We've become exactly what we're fighting against. We're committing genocide, James. We know better than them." "They broadcast the murder of 10 billion humans for entertainment," James said firmly. "They celebrated it. They laughed about it. We gave them mercy they never gave us. We let them live out their natural lives. That's more than they deserved." Rebecca said nothing. She knew he was right, but it still felt wrong in her soul. On Earth, President Elizabeth Morgan met with her military advisors in the command center. The war was going better than anyone had expected. The Jathic military was in complete disarray. Their fleets were scattered. Their colonies were falling one by one. "Madam President," General Robert Hayes presented the latest casualty reports. "We've lost 8,000 soldiers in combat operations. The Jathic have lost approximately 4 billion people across their empire." Elizabeth closed her eyes. 4 billion lives. It was a number too large to really comprehend. "How many civilians?" she asked quietly. "About 60% were military or direct military support. The rest were civilians." Elizabeth felt sick. They had killed 2.4 billion innocent people. Old Jathic. Young Jathic. People who had nothing to do with New Terra's destruction. "Are we becoming monsters, Robert?" she asked. General Hayes was silent for a long moment. "Madam President, I think we became monsters the day we decided that revenge was more important than mercy. But I also think we had no choice. If we had shown weakness, if we had forgiven, every species in the galaxy would see humans as victims to be exploited. Sometimes monsters are necessary to protect the innocent." "That's a terrible philosophy," Elizabeth said. "Yes, Robert agreed. But it's the galaxy we live in." Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Commander Veltha stared at the tactical display with growing horror. His empire was dying. Every day brought news of another world lost, another fleet destroyed, another million Jathic dead or stranded. His second officer, Corthan, approached nervously. "Commander, the Emperor is demanding your presence at the palace. He wants to discuss surrender terms." "Surrender?" Veltha's voice was hollow. "The humans don't accept surrender. They made that clear from the beginning. Perhaps if we offer reparations." "They don't want reparations," Veltha interrupted. "They want us extinct. And they're going to get it." He thought back to the broadcast of New Terra. He remembered how pleased he had been with himself. How powerful he had felt watching those human cities burn. He had laughed at their screams. Now his own people were screaming, and nobody was laughing. "Commander," Corthan said quietly, "I received a message from Admiral Wright. The human admiral. He said he wants you to know that his sister died on New Terra. She had 3 children. He wants you to think about them while you watch your empire fall." Veltha closed his eyes. He had murdered Thomas Wright's family. And now Thomas was making him watch as humanity murdered his entire civilization. On the Jarthic homeworld, Ghost Company infiltrated the Imperial Palace. Captain Richard Stone and his team moved through ventilation systems and maintenance tunnels, avoiding the heavy security. They reached a position above the Grand Hall where the Emperor would give his speech. "Charges are set," Helen confirmed. "One detonation and the entire palace comes down." Richard watched through his scope as the Emperor entered the hall. Thousands of Jarthic gathered to hear their leader speak. The Emperor looked old and tired. "My people," the Emperor began, "we face extinction. The humans will not stop until we are all gone. They have rejected every offer of peace. They have ignored every plea for mercy. We are going to die." The crowd murmured in fear and anger. "I called you here to tell you the truth," the Emperor continued. "We brought this on ourselves. We thought humans were weak. We thought we could break them. We were wrong. And now we pay the price for our arrogance." Richard's finger rested on the detonator. One press and the Emperor would be dead. The entire Jarthic leadership would be eliminated. But he hesitated. He listened.